Anyone else?
I had a question.
Yes,
I just wondered on old business
yes.
when it's in regards to the Sullivan subdivision, when we say that at present, one of the vehicles has been moved to the remaining property and the other will also be moved. You think this was, I wonder if this was just a temporary thing, moving it from one to the other, because
That was
If-
that's what the CEO put on his letter that I passed out last month. It was a promise, I believe, from Mr. Sullivan to show that those two vehicles would be moved. So that's all I know, and
yeah,
I included it here just because I thought it was.
Yeah.
Minutes. The whole issue, the
Yeah.
whole enforcement of that is.
yeah,
in Joe's hands. Not sure how he's gonna do it, but
yeah.
feels confident.
Yeah, I just like, it's just, if you look at it this way, I just read it as, what we accomplish, we moved it from here to there and, but again, it could very well be temporary. A temporary move,
Well, no.
as opposed to removing from the property per se.
If you remember the letter that Joe, CEO, gave us.
I got it,
He specified plan, clean up the property.
right,
This particular statement was about the property that's being divided away.
right,
I got those two vehicles off that. It's really all I know. Does anybody else
yeah.
remembers anything about it?
Yeah.
So at this point, I think, we're happy to take our hands off. And
Yeah. But I'm not, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just the way I read it, and if it just moves from here to there. Well, what do we accomplish? But again, it
Yeah,
could
but
be a
we're not in the
temporary move.
enforcement to accomplish anything.
Pardon?
We're not here to accomplish
I-
anything when it comes.
I
to
understand, but the
moving vehicles.
mission is for the
Our
town.
job is to say whether or not his subdivision meets the criteria of the
Right.
town.
Yeah.
But-
if it does, then we say yes.
Right.
And if he lied to the code enforcement, then code enforcement has to bring him on
I
to the board or
understand that.
whatever.
But again, this all came about, deferring the application because. There was an issue going on.
Yep.
Okay. And. In my idea is to resolve the issue that goes away, okay? But I'm not saying. It's just the way I read it, and it's just a comment. That's all it is. It's a comment. And if it just goes from A to B. What do we accomplish? Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm not
Okay.
calling anyone
Yep.
out. It's just an observation.
Do you think it's inappropriate to have that statement in our minutes?
I'm not gonna say any more. I brought up the way I read it and I'm not saying
Okay.
anything more.
Okay. Thanks. Really, I appreciate you read these things. Anything else? Make a motion to approve. All right.
Second.
And Caitlin seconds, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, reports. Town board met on May 8th, 2 weeks ago. They had another septic system variance that they, as the Board of Health, had to approve. Had to rule on a variance. Property on 5626 Canada's Hollow Road. Is that you?
No, it's not my property, but it's my road.
It's your road.
Yes.
Apparently, again, our code calls for 75 feet setback from highway. They're at 46.6 feet. The Board of Health looked at the application, looked at the drawings by Bill Grove, and they approved the variance so that the owners can go ahead and get their septic system installed. They went back to the regular meeting, privilege of the floor. There's been a change in zoning board of appeals. Linda Morehouse, who's been a longtime chairperson of that, is stepping down and she'll remain as a member. Ed Bott will be the official chairperson of that board. Linda did mention that both she and Ed have some health issues, so they're expecting to miss perhaps significant blocks of time. And so they're planning to fill in for each other as they're needed. While she was talking, she raised, it was privilege of the floor. She raised concerns about neighbor's property on Ross Road. I think it's one that the town has dealt with in the past. Nobody stepped up with any actions to follow up on it. And she expressed her concern that town of Canadice, even though we're served by the Richmond Fire District, town of Canadice is not represented within the fire district. And apparently, I'm not sure if she said that no one from Canadice can actually serve on the fire district board, the way things are, and she was asking if something could be done so that possible volunteers, Canadice might be able to volunteer in the district leadership. Again, that was just a statement that she made. Moved on to reports, clerk had regular reports, CEO. He didn't add anything to what he had in his report. Highway Department, busy doing springtime work, driveway pipes are being replaced on some on Canadice Hill Road. They swept the roads, mowing brush along the highway, stockpiling stones for summer work. They're planning to resurface the old Westlake Road North this spring. I'm gonna do that grinding where they scrape the blacktop off, grind it up, mix some stuff in and reapply it. And they have a person that's working as an intern with them. I guess this person had done the same thing last summer, helped out in some specific areas. Watershed Task Force, concerned about a high lake level. And the sheriff had declared a no wake zone, no wake on the lake. As of that time, I don't know if they've reduced that now or not. Water district operations. Back on April 21st, about 11:30 at night, I was in bed. I heard this huge bang, just about knocked me out of bed. I don't know if anybody heard it, but a lot of people around town heard it. And lightning had hit the water tank down here. Yeah, and it was really, I thought it was thunder, but I'd never heard anything that loud. But it was, the lightning had hit the tank. It did damage some of the electronic equipment, but it didn't, disable anything. It damaged, but didn't cause any real concerns. And they were planning to have that repaired. I thought that was interesting. It's partway down the hill. I don't know why lightning would hit down where it is, but. Well, I know that's a good attractant, but it's not the highest points. So that was just information. Old business, putting out bids. They put out bids for the sidewalk repair, the concrete. They got a couple of bids. They awarded the bid to Roy White. But he's not going to do it until late summer, I believe. Let's see. I didn't record, but it's going to be pretty late in the year before he gets to it, but he's the one that they selected. He was low bid, so they selected him. New business, they passed a resolution directing the planning board to begin an update of the town of Canadice comprehensive plan. Gonna talk briefly about that a little later, but we now have an official resolution. We're charged with doing that. We made a resolution to submit the annual mowing contract to Ontario County. And they are soliciting proposals for the parking lot repair and resurfacing here at the town hall. That was pretty much it. John O'Connor mentioned that the Memorial Day services, 9:30, there's a parade in Hemlock. 10:30, there's a short service out here in front. And at 11 o'clock, there's a parade in Honeywell. And that was pretty much it. Questions? County planning, Steve Brewer.
Oh, and the May 10th, of the planning board. Only said a few things, I'll just go with FYI. We have time. Just about it. So, obviously, we're also relying on our cell phones, I see these cell tower. Additions,
I'm gonna turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
when I see these cell tower additions, I try and mention them. They're putting one up, at the exit ramp on Victor there, the throughway, where you get in on and off the throughway. And that will, so that's for the town of Victor, and that will upgrade cell service, the cell service network in that area, those different providers, it'll give them a boost. It'll help because apparently there's some kind of blind spots around Eastview Mall, southern town of Perrington, and the northern portion of the town of Victor property. So that should help. And then, as I mentioned several months ago, probably close to a year ago, rather, they're putting a new cell tower up in Ionia, and it's been constructed, if you've seen it, right in Hamlet, because there's a terrible dead zone there right in the hamlet of Ionia and around some of the surrounding roads there. So that's almost done. And I was talking to Ruth, the town of West Bloomfield rep. She said they're getting quite near completion where that'll be activated. So that'll be a big help, especially to the Ionia Fire Department, because they rely obviously on their cell service there. And my son's on that, and he said we incur a lot of instances where reception is not good. So that's going to be a big help for the fire department in particular. We had a in the town of Gorham, right on Route 364, right along the lake. It's technically it's really East Lake Road, which splits off 364, then goes uphill away from the lake, and East Lake Road continues on. We're right in the town of Gorham near Crystal Beach there. There's a development, new development going in, new subdivision. It's 80 lot subdivision called Scenic Ridge Rise. And it's on an undeveloped 55-acre parcel, and it kind of from the road it goes up, and the front of the property adjoins right State Route 364 and the lake. They'll be served by the town of Gorham Water District and this Canandaigua Water District and the town of Canandaigua sewer district. So they'll have sewer and water. And it's right north to the property. There was a subdivision put in several years ago. So they'll be neck and neck now. But that's for, I kind of be quite a lot of Gorham is, similar to us in Bristol, and it's quite rural. And you get like for us an 80 lot subdivision, that'd be huge. And there'll be some public roads in there within it, and 18 street lights in the development. It's quite a project.
Does it go
And-
on to the water?
They have,
Come up to the
they'll be provided with water.
the lakefront, does it come up, do they have
Yeah, but they will not be able to
access?
access. They'll have to go down along the lake, and there's a sidewalk and walkway to the Crystal Beach. There's like a public, little public swimming area in that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was a concern I had, because I was thinking similar to down here. If people come down, you drive out, you've got the road, and then, well, let's go to the lake, and we cross the lake there, and but
Yeah,
they will not have any access to the lake proper there. They would have to go down the lake and then access it, that swimming beach there, that little park. Yeah, and this goes along with the project, basically conforms with the town of Gorham conservation subdivision provisions. So it's not something that's outside really their realm and their what they see for the town, but it kind of conforms with kind of what they kind of expect and would like to see. we had two use variances that we chose to return with a recommendation of denial to the various locales so that they can deal with it on their own, because we really don't like to make determinations on use variances. And one was for the town of Richmond down here. And it was for a non-conforming use of a two-bedroom dwelling that the applicant wanted to construct, and so obviously you'd have two residences on one property.
Mm.
And if it was approved, it set a precedent, and not only that, they didn't provide the board with that. There's four criteria that you have to have for a use variance that they have to meet. And there was no documentation that they even addressed that, and even if we had it, we really wouldn't consider it, because like I say, we'd like to send them always back to the respective municipalities and for their purview. It's not really, I always believed it's not for the county, but rather the local municipality. Then we had one for the town of Victor. There's a use variance previously granted by the ZBA for a residence with modifications that are being proposed to expand the building. Included in the apartment. Additional employees. It was for like a small, like little manufacturing type business, and they wanted to change all that. So again, that was returned to the town of Victor. And then we always, we look at all the new development for housing. And for the most part, we see it's the big developments here, the big high dollar building projects. Well, this the village of Victor, we had an area variance come in, which would allow a 5-story senior housing complex for 112 units. Whether it would pricing would be really kind of equatable to senior citizens, that wasn't provided, but it's nice to see that there is once in a while some development for that type of housing, because there's a big need for it, obviously. And then the town of Naples had a zoning law amendment that they introduced. They wanted to reduce their stream setback from 100 foot to 25 foot. Well, that's a big change there, and a lot of implications that could be from that. So we returned it with a recommendation of denial and suggest that the town board contact the DEC, the Canandaigua Lake Watershed Manager, and the Ontario County Water Resources for their input to see how that might impact, future building and what their thoughts were on that. Because again, there was no documentation to support those different ideas. So it's just kind of quickie on ones that I thought might be of interest.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve? Thank you very much. All right, agenda. Zoning board. I don't know if they met or not. I didn't look. You said they met, but
They did meet. I didn't watch it.
yeah.
They were interviewing someone. I don't know if they moved on anything.
Okay. Code enforcement, Joe Miller gave us his April report. Any questions, you can talk to Joe about it. He did mention at the town board meeting that he has processed and issued a few short-term rental permits. And he and his deputy are beginning to work on, they've got several applications that they'd not been able to even begin looking at, but their training schedules have been reduced. They're getting more time to do the work now since the training is being pretty much caught up. So they're planning to work on the applications that they currently have in there. So any questions, you can talk to Joe Miller.
Yeah, well, maybe you know.
I don't think he didn't log in or anything. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know if Steve Friedler, Old Barn is on Venetia's folder?
He'd Birch asked me that. I do not know. I assumed it was on his private property, but I I don't know that. And because the issue would be if it was on the Canisius Coal, that has a site plan and new construction, they should revise their site plan. But if it's on his private property, just building permit. So I don't know.
The coal shop is 5544. New York 15A.
And this is 5548.
So he's probably.
He's down the hill behind it. They built a private road and a couple of houses down there, his and somebody else's. Okay. Yeah. We really don't have any old business, new business. I just put this down, comprehensive plan update, because town board directed us to start something, so I gave Caitlin a disc with all of the old files that I had from last time around. There was a lot of supporting information as well as the finals, all in computer. I did ask at the town board meeting, were they gonna set up a separate budget for us? If there's gonna be mailings and different things, obviously, it would be nice, and everyone agreed it'd be nice to have a separate budget line item, but they didn't know whether they could add a separate line item in the middle of a fiscal year like this or not, so all of these things, Chris Vastola said they'd look into, and I asked them about, communication. Do they have any ideas? Communication's a big deal, and we have the website, but not a lot of people look at the website, and apparently Richmond had done a little bit of looking into how they communicate. So I said, we could use some help on that. And asked about if anyone on the town board had approached county planning in terms of giving us any assistance. Chris Vastola did mention that town of Richmond had gotten some help from the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council on their comprehensive plan work. So those are some things that potentially are going to be needed and looked at. So again, Caitlin volunteered to lead that activity. And so, typically what we would do is we would try to create what the town calls a research group of people interested in looking at, reviewing and updating the existing plan. Typically last time around, I think we had two or three planning board members. Can't exceed 3 because you can't have 4, otherwise that's a planning board meeting, and so you can't do that. So, to get started, gonna have to draft some kind of a notice that, again, we're not gonna do this, next month, or, it's gonna take some time, get our feet under us, see what the needs are, particularly around a budget. We can find out, for example, how much did it cost the town when they sent out the postcards about the water disk, so they get a fairly up-to-date cost of those kinds of communications. Last time around, we actually contracted a survey analysis company. It's called Survey Monkey. They gathered results. I'm not sure they helped design the survey, but they took the results and collated and summarized and gave reports. So, I'm sure there'll be budget needs for that. But typically we would start out getting together some sort of an advertisement to advertise that the town is going to undertake a comprehensive plan update, looking for interested residents to volunteer for this. And typically those research group meetings are not paid. Nobody gets paid for their time unless there's a particular individual that does spend an unusual amount of time, and then they've been reimbursed.
Usually the chair gets a stipend.
Does the chair? Okay, so they get the $30, well, it's up to $40. That's right. And then I think they did compensate a few of the members but the last one went several years, so hopefully it won't go that long this time.
So if the town, was it Richmond that just is working on one? Maybe contact the person who chairs that and find out I mean, rather than reinvent the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
They may have a whole process already developed. Hopefully they've documented it, but if they.
Yeah.
At least talk to them. Find out who it is.
So we can talk, if you'd rather have me do that kind of thing, or if you want to,
I'm happy to do that.
do those. Again, we can borrow, anything that's already been done,
Yeah.
just modify it.
I could follow, I could find out. I could probably ask Glenn Weldman, the rep from Richmond, and he's on the planning board. Also, and I see him every month at the county, I could ask him. who's
Any-
involved in that if you want,
Sure.
but save a phone call.
Just call the town hall.
Yeah, I can just,
Okay.
I'll call town. hall.
Yeah. Find out from, what's his name? Daryl Marshall, or the clerk. I don't know who the clerk is these days.
The clerk will know everything.
Yep, that's right. It used to be Linda Grace. I don't know if she's still a clerk down there or not. So that's where we are. So we're just, we're not going to try to make this a short race and try to get things done very quickly. We're just going to move along and help as we can. Think about any, if any of you all want to participate in that. I think it'd be good if at least one person from board would participate in that. And we'll just move ahead.
At the last meeting, we had a discussion about, Canada's comprehensive plan print.
Yes, I was gonna ask you about
I
that.
brought along mine.
Okay,
And I thought I would, turn this over to Caitlin. This is the one that we updated, in 96.
Okay,
And there are some of my, minutes in
Oh.
there, because I was on the research to update that one.
okay.
So I threw those in there. And I just had one comment when I was looking on this, because I was looking at our 2015 version. And one of the things that happened probably is a reason to make printing easier was they reduced the size of all the maps that are in here. And when we did this one, we did these accordion folds because we were looking at, zoning, and we wanted everybody to be able to look at a map and see things in town. And in the 15 version, they all got scrunched down to fit in 8.5. You cannot read them.
Okay.
And when I did this, this wasn't really hard to do. These were the ones that I went down to the county and had printed out. We now have the capability to print 1117 here.
and in color.
Yeah, and it's just a double accordion gatefold. It's a fold and a half, and you can actually blow through these by hand pretty quick. And it might be worth doing to have some nice maps in there.
Yep.
But if you want this, and think it'll be of use to you, I will pass that along. to you.
Absolutely. I would
think
very
there's-
much appreciate
Yeah,
that.
think-
Thank you.
and Ted, you also asked about cop prints, so I printed some.
Excellent. That was gonna be one of the last things I asked, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you
you
so
were
much,
able to
Steve.
make copies of the
We did
existing.
it, we did it all in house here.
All right.
Simple. We got all the equipment.
That was
I
two
did,
ago.
I didn't do-
one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Wow, even binders.
One for the alternate. 8 copies.
Thank you.
I also put a note on the back of this one that it's the property of the planning board and that you should return it to the town clerk when you leave office.
All right.
You will get them back.
Would you like one?
Is there an extra?
Well,
I would.
since we don't have an alternate, yeah.
I'll bring it back.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. I know this probably wasn't easy to do, but it is very nice to have a hard copy all together. And so we'll, and again, the logo here is compliments of Steve Engard, if everyone, if no one knew that. This is his graphic. He designed this and
Great.
so it's used around town. It's really nice. Yep.
Cool.
That's what's on our welcome to Canada signs and
Nature.
on our
It was designed
website.
To be our town flag is probably designed.
Was it?
Yeah. Believe it or
Did
not.
we ever make a flag?
We never did. I take that back. I think we may have made one that we used at office.
Oh, really?
Even though it's still around it. or it might have been a print. I can't remember if it was a print or an actual.
I don't ever remember seeing a flag, but,
I gave him the quotes to print it, and I think it.
well, thank you very much for doing that, Steve. So any thoughts you have on it, feed them to Caitlin or myself. Caitlin's, going to run the thing, so. That's where we are. Any other questions about that or input to it? Okay, last privilege of the floor, a couple things. You may have noticed there's some vegetables out in the corridor there. John O'Connor, who's one of the town councilmen, works at some food pantry somewhere, I'm not sure. And they have stuff that they can't get rid of apparently, so he brings some down periodically. It's all up for grabs, it's all, healthy, it's not, it's not rotted apparently. So help yourself to anything on the way out. Chris Vestola wanted me to mention that they are looking for a new town board member. John O'Connor's term is up this year and he's not going to run again. So they'll be looking for a town board member. And then I just wanted to mention, we have this slideshow. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'm sorry.
Dwight, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So if you want to stick around here, we can just,
Should I
Can you
leave
do it?
the recording
Oh,
on because
no.
we technically have a quorum?
oh, do we have to?
No, I don't think.
Just can't discuss it.
Just can't talk about it, right? As a planning board issue. Right? I don't know.
You can watch it later, you don't talk about it.
Okay.
So
You,
I'm good to stop the
Yeah.
recording.
yeah, let's stop.